Big bubbles, no troubles. Don't you worry, baby. 100.3 Bay FM with the Beach Boys, of course. Thought we'd sneak that in because it's getting a little bit warmer, isn't it, Madonna?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Looking forward to it.
Oh, me too.
And looking forward to a brand new year. But,
Yeah.
you know, we all have health issues between now or any time during the year, and a lot of people do. So hopefully there's a lot of people out there looking forward to Christmas and the brand new year. But I guess there's some who aren't. They've got questions on their mind is like, you know, what is happening with my body?
Yeah.
So tell us what happens at New Leaf then.
Yeah. So I was chatting to Sanu the other day, and we've had an influx of really lovely new men coming into the clinic recently for all sorts of things. And I think men are now finally starting to get more open to going, okay, I've been feeling depressed for years, or I've been having this issue for years, or I'm not sleeping. So it feels like there's more of an influx of, well, men taking an interest in their own health rather than putting themselves last all the time again.
Yes, I think at one time it was, oh, no, she'll be right, mate.
Yeah.
She'll be right, I'll be good, I'll be good, I'll have a sleep tonight, I'll be better tomorrow.
And that's fine. And people can often do that for 5, 10, 15, 20 years until finally they realise they're just not happy and they're not energised and they're not enjoying themselves. And, you know, they're not getting that juju out of life that, you know, let's face it, people are entitled to feel good and happy and energised. So quite often, men are more interesting in that they usually want to do the testing at New Leaf more than the women. This is a generalisation, of course, but women are more likely to want to do the kinesiology and the massage and the acupuncture, actually have the treatments because they love the hands-on. The guys are more likely to want to see their blood or have the oligo scan or do the insulin resistance or the VLA, so they've got those numbers on the page. They can see what's going on. They've got like a, you know, almost like a doctor's, you know, report that says, okay, we've got to shift this. So one of my guys in this week, he has lost 12 kilos on the HCG weight loss program in the last 12 days. 12 so he came in, he's just a champion jelly bean. So when we did, and what was cool, because obviously there's a lot of information out there that if you lose that quickly, what are you losing? So of course, this is the thing about testing. You know whether or not you've lost muscle mass or whether you've lost good stuff. So the Bio-Impedance screening, we did one at the beginning, and I said to him, look, if you want to lose some weight fast and safely, this is what we do. And I also tell them what supplements. You need to detox. If you're shifting 12 kilos in 12 days, which most people don't shift that much, he's just a bit of a genius, then basically you're going to be moving some fat, you're going to be moving some fluid, but you're going to be moving a lot through your liver and your kidneys and your gut. So therefore we support those organs with products that just help to make sure that you take the toxins out. Anyway, so we did the Bio-Impedance screening, and it was cool because he'd lost about 3.5 kilos of normal fat, he'd lost about 2.5 kilos of tummy fat, and the other kilos were fluid. So that sounds good. And then people would say, well, maybe he's dehydrated. But there was more fluid on the inside of the cells than there was beforehand, which means his muscle quality was 5% better and his cellular energy was improved. So there was nothing that was worse, you know. So if the toxins were actually causing him damage, which they could have, then basically something would have gotten worse. There would have been more inflammation, there would have been more fluid outside the cells, there would have been less muscle quality. So none of those things happened, which once again is why we like the testing.
So there you go, guys. Well done for heading in there. Now, can you do everything in the one spot at Edith Street, Wynnum?
Well, naturopathic testing, the things that we do massage and acupuncture and kinesiology and naturopathy. So and then we have the naturopathic testing on the other side of things. So we do a lot of stuff, but we still send out to doctors for certain medical tests as well. Like, for example, Lawrence was talking before about genetic testing that you might want to get checked to see, you know, if you've got a propensity for dementia, Alzheimer's. So there are a few tests. But do you want to know?
No, I don't think so. No,
personally, the funny thing is with the research is that they found that if you've got the gene, the things that we know that helps, like things like the activated turmeric and things like the fish oils, they actually do work better in the people with those genes. Like they have found that it's almost like the gene has been activated because of the inflammation. So therefore, if you do the anti-inflammatory things like the activated turmeric and good quality fish oils, it starts reversing that damage to the dodgy gene.
But even if you didn't know, like, so I would rather not know, I think, because if it was bad news, you'd go, and it'd put you down.
Yeah.
But, I mean, turmeric and stuff like that, you can have that anytime. You
Absolutely.
don't have to know whether you've got it or not. Just have it because it's very beneficial.
Exactly. And they're like Carrie was saying last week that, there's now 3 published medical science publications per day now on activated turmeric.
Wow.
So, we're not talking small amounts of study. So once again, when people say there's no science to naturopathy, it's just bollocks. It's just not true these days. It's bollocks. It's making me crazy. So we do a lot of testing, but we still do send out to doctors, and we still need to work in with doctors so that we can, because some things are outside of our scopes. Obviously, if people, like I've got a guy who's been having head pain, and I was so glad that he finally got a CAT scan, because we needed to know. If he had a brain tumour in there, then we're not going to be able to pick up on that.
Yeah.
So at least now he's got a CAT scan that says no brain tumour, so we can go tick.
Okay.
Yeah.
One off the list,
Exactly. And I think this is where, and same with another client of mine at the moment, and he's got chronic pain and inflammation, and at the moment all they've done is put him on a drug for nerve pain, and he's been really struggling with the side effects of that, so we're sort of just working on some of the underlying causes. But when we did our testing, we found, a good, 8 things that are driving inflammation. So he sort of had very low muscle mass, he had low muscle quality, he had high levels of insulin resistance. And insulin's a really damaging hormone when it's out of balance. He doesn't have diabetes, it's not at that point yet. It's in that 5, 10, 20 years before diabetes takes hold. But the pain is like 10 out of 10, probably about 10% of the day. So it's not all the time, but it's enough so that he then has to take some drugs, have a lie down, have a moment, and it's stopping him from exercising and things. Unless he drugs himself up enough, but the mineral deficiencies were massive as well, so we've really got to get those minerals into his body, and that takes time. So if someone's magnesium deficient, for example, and we see it really quite deficient on our oligo scan, it can take a good 4 months of solid levels just to build it up so that we're starting to see it 4 months at good levels.
So what I'm thinking is that everybody who has got something wrong with them, but they're not sure what it is, maybe they could get onto it early. If they realise there's something wrong, to go into New Leaf.
Yes.
And just have a chat.
That's right.
At least do that. Yeah.
Because naturopaths look at things very differently to doctors. We've got more than the 8 to 10 minutes they're allotted, or 20 minutes if you get a long appointment. We've got a lot more time. So therefore, when we do start looking at the history, quite often it's because of the way that we're trained, we're more likely to go, so before this you were fine? Yep, my life was, fantastic before this, and then this happened. Quite often it's emotional gear.
Right.
And people have just not put it together so people often haven't put that together, and that is where things like, and this is where the weird stuff like the kinesiology and the esoteric acupuncture and the quantum consciousness healings come in, because they're the sort of things that help to diffuse the old stresses so that they're no longer a big charge in the body and they're not driving that inflammation permanently.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we should, I think, play another song. We've got time to get it in, so let's do it, and then we'll come back and find out how to get in touch with New Leaf Therapy, where you are, I know that, Edith Street, Wynnum, and we'll get your phone number too, because I think it's important to people to understand that you're there for a reason, and they can call you anytime.